Jai Jinendra everyone. I am Akshat Shah and I am part of the ITOT pathshala class. Today I will be talking about the Bandh Tattva. But before I start, I'd like to explain the significance of this quote, "Karma never loses an address." I really like this quote because according to the Jain philosophy, we've been through infinite amount of lifetimes and different forms that we've taken so many things, we've gained so much experience, but we can't take it with us because we forget it. But we only take one thing with us, and that's our karmas. And no matter where we are in the entire universe, karma is going to be there, stalking us, looking for us. It's going to be there, and it's going to create a situation in which it will create some sort of event in which we can gain punya or pap karma. And if we lose all the karma, then we'll go to moksha. But what I feel is that without truly understanding Bandh, we will not be able to go to moksha. Ashram is the inflow of karmic particles. So given how you react to a situation, you'll get punya or pap karma. And basically in the afterlife or in your new form, you're going to basically feel the fruits of it, or the uday, when it's ready to come, when the punya is or pap is ready to come into fruition. Bandh leads to, even good like punya leads to making our soul impure, because our soul is being like covered by a mesh sort of like material that's keeping it from realizing its true potential, its true power. Think of us like tipsy people, like people who are drunk. Our perception is so limited. We're not seeing the huge picture or the big picture. We, not like Bhagwan, like which we can see our past life and our future life and all the mistakes that we've ever made. Because of Bandh, Bandh is basically covering these kinds of properties, and it's basically not letting us understand what the power of the soul is. To further explain this, I said these defilements tend to block the other soul because the soul gets kind of rounded up in this. It has a sense of like and dislike because of our experience. And it takes the like and dislike into new bhavs or new forms, and we take those likes and dislikes to create more pap, more punya, and then that's just going to make our soul even more dirty and impure. Defilements are also kashais, which are known as krodh, man, maya, and lodh. I will explain it further in the next slide. So let's look at the definition of Bandh. Bandh is the binding of karmic particles. And there are 5 causes. What are the 5 causes, you may ask? The 5 causes are mithyatva, believing that you're the body and not the soul. And avriti, vowlessness, not taking vows. Okay, I cannot specify how important this one is because we are not taking vows when it's titi days, or it is time for a very like religious or spiritual day, which is given to a sense to like invoke us and become more detached of this world. Kashai, krodh, man, maya, and lodh, greed, deceit, anger, ego, things like that. And they're the catalyst of arguments, greed, and a bunch of other things we see in this world. Pramat, procrastination. And this I will relate it to laziness. And what I mean by this is that we're lazy about dharma. We're not interested in it. I mean, let's think about this. Eating, sleeping, drinking water, that's a habit just like that. We don't even need to think about it twice. That should be dharma, but yet we're not doing it. Why? Because we are blinded by the bounds of reality. We are so invoked in our senses that we don't even think about disconnecting from the world to connect to our soul. That is the most important part. I cannot emphasize that enough. Disconnect from the world to connect to your soul. And as you can see, I've included a code. Akizar said for every action there's a consequence, and there's a boomerang example. However, karma is not that simple. You see, suppose you hit someone, and then your next bhav, the karma will multiply. This is called chakravarti vyaj, or compound interest. Think of this as a big karma bank in which you put more and more and more pap karma, and over time there's an interest rate added onto it. So the karmas accumulate the interest in a way, and essentially in your next bhav you take the karma as well as the interest, and then you get in a much worse situation than you actually were by hitting that. So the 4 aspects include nature. What characteristics of will the karma obstruct? Quantity, how many karmic particles will be attracted, duration. How long will the karma stay in the soul? Note, the karma has no influence over the body at this given time. It is only when it is time for uday, or the fruition of the karmas, will the karma show its full potential. Now let's look at intensity. When the karma is ready to be produced, or in uday, it's uday stage, where it's ready to become fruitified or to show its full effect on us by creating a situation, what will be the result of these karmas? Will you gain new karmas? Will you make pap or punya? So for this, I created an example. Suppose you have an argument with someone. Let's look at the nature. You will be getting mohanya karma, obviously, because your ego is being hurt. It's being challenged. And krodh, man, maya, and lodh. That's why you had the argument in the first place. Without that, without the kashais, you wouldn't even have the argument to start with. Now let's look at quantity. So if you argue, then you will accumulate a lot of karmic particles. Now let's look at the max duration. Get this, one argument can lead to having the karma bind to your soul for 70 koda kodi sagarapa. This is 70 times 10 to the 7th power times 10 to the 7th power sagarapa. And this is equivalent to 7 times 10 to the 31st palyopam. And that is a very, very large number. A number that we cannot even quantify in our brain. It's that huge. Intensity. It depends on how strongly one argues or how much of the ego one uses. And the more ego you use, the more in anger you use, the more karmas you will bind, and the worser the situation you'll be in the future. Now let's look at gati karma, or nature/type of the karma. Before I start explaining gati karma, we should all know what gati means. Gati means karmas that obstruct the true quality of the soul. So there's deluding karma or mohanya karma. This is very dangerous. Be careful when trying to accumulate these karmas, because this is the most dangerous one. Knowledge blocking karma, jnana varnya karma. Before I go on to perception blocking karma, I'd like to point out that a less jnana varnya karma means high intelligence, or you're very smart in a way. Perception blocking karma, darshana varnya karma. And then we have obstruction in getting, antaraya karma. So let's look at diluting karma. When we're defending our karma, when we're defending our ego, our greed, our anger, then we actually accumulate mohanya karma. We experience this throughout our day, without knowing or without knowing this, and it is hurting us a lot more. And that's why we're being trapped in this constant cycle of birth and death, and this constant cycle of misery. And let's talk about high jnana varnya karma. That means you're usually mentally challenged. Darshana varnya karma. So when you want to keep awake, but you really can't. This is because you could have Lyme disease or chronic fatigue syndrome, or it just could be because you aren't interested. And that's what we've been doing throughout our whole the cycle of birth and death. We aren't interested in dharam. We've been so wound up in our joys and satisfaction coming from our outside senses that we haven't been able to overcome this and be like Bhagwan, be in the ultimate stage of happiness. And antaraya karma. So suppose you love rasgulla, and there's rasgulla right here, but you can't eat it. Why? Because you have diabetes, and this is diabetes is obstructing you from getting the rasgulla. Effect of geometry. So if you look at my previous slides, you can see that I've been talking about pap bandh, and now I'm going to be talking about punya bandh, or geometry. And I would like to focus on Shantinath Bhagwan. Let's talk about Shantinath's previous bhag. He was a king, and the king, his name was Megarath, or King Megarath. He was a very kind and compassionate king. He loved every jeev to the fullest of his heart. He loved the tiniest of the tiniest to the biggest of the biggest. And the devs, they wanted to test this. So what happened was that there were two devs. One changed its form into a hawk, and the other changed its form into a pigeon. The hawk chased the pigeon into the king's court. Just as the hawk was about to eat the pigeon, King Megarath said, "Stop." The hawk said, "If I don't eat the pigeon, then I will starve and I will die." King Megarath offered it sweets and things like that. But the hawk said, no, this is human food. I want meat because that's what I eat. So King Megarith, he chopped out pieces of his thigh until it weighed the same as the pigeon, as you can see in the scale. And as he chopped, he gained Titankar Nam Karma, Bandh. And this is the highest type of Punya Karma. In the future life, King Megarith will become a Bhagwan. So I'm going to talk about Bandh Samay Chitta Chittiye Ude Sho Santap. This is adapted from Ayusha Karma Nivaran Puja. So what this translates into is, at the time of Bandh, be careful and pay attention. What is the point in complaining when you already reacted to a situation, when the time of Uday has already happened? An example would be, suppose you hurt or kill another living being for your pleasure, or you put on makeup that's been tested on thousands of animals. You eat foods that are violent, and the result could be fatal disease such as cancer or Alzheimer's. But that's just because you've been binding the karmas to cause all of this. And this will happen throughout and throughout until we realize that whatever we're doing to satisfy our ajivat body is wrong. We've always wanted more, whether that's money, power, or whatever. And it's only to make our body feel happy. But what is true happiness? True happiness comes from the soul. It doesn't come from just the body. It doesn't come from nice cars like Ferraris. It comes from our soul and our soul itself. And we cannot share our karmas, even if we try doing something good. Only us and ourselves have to bear the fruits of this karma. Doctor versus thief. So let's say you have a thief, an ordinary thief. He'll happily kill someone with a knife to acquire the money from a normal person. So suppose there's a patient and he has a tumor in his stomach. The doctor uses a surgical knife to cut open the stomach and take out the tumor. Tumor is in an advanced stage, and so the patient slowly dies. In both cases, a person was being hurt by the use of a knife. So does that mean the thief and the doctor gain the same bandh karma? Well, not exactly. You see, the thief evidently used the knife for a bad reason. As a result, he will gain pap bandh. The doctor, however, gained punya bandh because he tried helping a patient. So I've devised a 3-part plan. So first, I will try studying Jainism more deeply, especially into karmas and the sense of what I'm dealing with. And I'll use help from my gurus. And part 2 of my plan consists of finding the hole in my boat and plug it in. This is called sambar. And then part 3, I will take the access karma and destroy them. I will first try to destroy mohanya karma, because after I get rid of all my mohanya karma or stop the inflow of mohanya karma, then all the karmas will go down like that. I will do each day. So I'll try to limit my shower time, stopping the amount of kanmol I eat, spend at least 15 minutes in the morning and do darshan, 3 kamashna, and follow the Jain 24/7 sheet that Rakesh Uncle and Neha Auntie have provided for us so gracefully. Limit my screen time and be aware of my words, actions, and thoughts.